Hello and welcome back to the Honor Wrestling and another edition of Raw Out of 10. Clash in Paris ended with Becky Lynch helping Seth Rollins retain the world title and indicating that Power Couple may be more of a unit on screen moving forward. I also got some fallout for that, as well as some other big matches on the show, including the Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles for the IC title. But after a recap of Clash in Paris and the usual sorts of people arriving, Jey Uso made his way out to a hot crowd. He was still banged up and in a bad mood after what happened on Sunday. He said he didn't regret helping Roman Reigns, even though it ended up getting him hurt because it's family. He called out the Vision for a fight, but LA Knight came out and said that both lost Sunday night, but it was Uso's fault because he couldn't focus when it mattered. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed came out, talked some trash on stage, and after a few minutes of back and forth insult, the Bronze challenged Uso Knight to a tag match. The babyface accepted the challenge to end the segment. Pretty standard stuff to end it. And before we moved on to Judgment Day versus the Kabuki Warriors, the Prodigy and the Empress of Tomorrow started their teams in a basic lock-up struggle. Perez slapped Oscar and then immediately retreated out of the ring to avoid a kick. They kept a steady pace of things as both teams started making tags. Zayn and Perez had a nice sequence before Rodriguez tagged in and overpowered the Pirate Princess. Zayn took out Rodriguez at ringside with her signature elbow, while Oscar got the win for her team with an Oscar lock on Perez. The Empress tried to end it up with a different move, but it went awry and she improvised. A decent match with the way it stood out, especially from the usually flawless Oscars. So yeah, gets 6 out of 10. But moving on into Finn Balor versus Dragon Lee, we went for the Women of the Judgment Day to the men with JD McDonough accompanied Balor here. Balor took control right away with a wrist lock and wrestled Lee to the mat, but the high flyer didn't take long to reverse it. They traded moves, but the Prince seemed to have the advantage mostly. We returned for a break to see Lee started to make a comeback. He had a series of fast-paced moves which had Balor reading. The fans started chanting and waving their arms as Luchador was on a roll, but as soon as Balor hit a dropkick, the crowd was on the side again. He hit a coup de grace for the pin and a win to end the fun encounter. Lee taking his time with the loss wasn't surprising, but WWE needs to do something interesting with the scene. He's too good to be floundering like this. So yeah, hopefully you take that, but 6 out of 10 from me. We then got the New Day and Grayson Waller versus the War Raiders and Penta. Kofi and Xavier was teamed up with Grayson Waller to take on Eric, Ivar and Penta. And it's been a while since we last saw Eric and Ivar, since they looked excited to be back in the ring with their long-time rivals, the New Day. The Raiders and Penta took out opponents with some triple team offense before they all did the Penta strike to send us into a break. We've seen so many times the New Day and War Raiders fight, and it felt like there's nothing they can do at this point, but it's been long enough since their last encounter. Didn't feel repetitive. All 6 men looked good, but Eric and Ivar were the stars of the bout. The crowd was clearly happy to see in action. This was a solid performance, even if it was a predictable side, but it could have been much better with a little more time. And yeah, gets 6 out of 10 from me. Good win for the War Raiders, but yeah, like I say, just feel like the match didn't really fill its potential. We then got the Dominic Mysterio's AJ Styles match. Dom attacked Styles before the introductions, giving himself an early advantage, but the P1 and fired back with a trademark dropkick, followed by a slingshot elbow at ringside. We returned from a break to see Dom in the driver's seat. He was keeping the pace low to keep Styles grounded, but only worked for so long. It ended up having more commercials as usual, which hurt the flow and presentation a little. The fans were loud and felt almost the entire time. Dom played his role as a cowardly heel perfectly, while Styles leaned in the crowd reactions. The raucous French fans helped make this match feel important, and Styles and Mysterio did a great job giving them reasons to cheer. Unfortunately, El Grande Americo showed up and just attacked Styles while the ref was distracted. Mysterio took advantage and hit a frog splash for a pin and a win. Other than that, it was enjoyable from start to finish. And Jack gets 7 out of 10 from me. CM Punk then came to the ring and called out Seth Rollins, but he instead got what Becky Lynch was coming out to her husband's music. She was mocked by a crowd chanting for AJ Lee. The man ripped into the best in the world for insulting and attacking her husband repeatedly. He called Rollins a coward, and Lynch said he's everything Raw will never be. The visionary eventually came out and told Punk to say what he has to say to his face, but Lynch blocked Punk's bar. She smacked him several times. After Rollins walked away, the second city centre said she would regret putting her hands on him. Lynch was the star of the segment. This was another standard Punk promo, but she definitely brought it up a notch. Before we got Jey Uso and LA Knight versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in the main event. Reed and Uso started, but Knight quickly tagged in to give his teammate help taking on the big man. The match played out as most bouts like this tend to. Both teams got in about the same amount of offense. The heels cheated here and there, and the babyfaces found ways to rally at different times. Uso and Knight were almost a successful comeback, but Breaker was able to get the victory with a spear. As usual, winning wasn't enough. Heels kept up the attack. Jimmy Uso hit the ring with a steel chair to make the save for his brother. And yeah, on the whole, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Overall, Raw this week gets a 6 out of 10 from me. I thought, yeah, it was a decent last show, an average episode, but it was elevated by the crowd. Styles v Mysterio was the best match. Levi Balor was strong as well, and I think the fallout from Clash of Palace is beginning, and will quickly turn into the build towards WrestlePalooza, which I'm sure is going to be a big show. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.